Shining bright, sunshine in the sky. Megan and Tammy here to testify, spreading love, laughter and good vibes too. The Fat Girl Chronicles, we're breaking through. No more.
Welcome everyone to the Fat Girl Chronicles. I'm Tammy.
And I'm Megan.
And together we are
the Fat Girl Flippers.
Megan's going to explain why we're here in this lovely podcast.
We are here because we want to be. No.
Yes, actually we are here.
Yeah, because we do want to be.
Because there's a lot of things in life that we don't want to do, and we usually have to do them. But this isn't
not one of them. If you are watching on YouTube, that's great. Just hit that subscribe button because we're just trying to build our subscribers. And make sure you hit that bell so it reminds you when we do post. We do try to post every Friday, which is super exciting. But if you prefer to watch, let's just listen to our audio, that's totally cool as well. We have our podcast on multiple podcast streams, Apple Podcasts, Podbean, Spotify, all of that. So feel free to listen to us there, like when you're headed to work or driving in the car. Some people listen to us like while they're cleaning.
Driving in the car, you'll make people crash.
Driving
from
in
laughter.
The car. Oh yeah, especially some of ours are like ridiculous.
I've been lately my reels have keep coming up. Andrea Barber, from Corner Brook, Love Shaw.
I've never seen her.
Oh my god! How could you
Really?
not have seen her?
You'll have to send me a video of her.
Love Shaw.
Love Shaw.
Love Shaw. Bye. And that's what she says.
Really?
Yeah.
Huh.
But she says it in a Newfie accent. Anyways, it's I'll send her to you because she's awesome.
That's great.
Yeah.
So we normally just start with how our week's going. So do you want to go?
My week has been fantastic.
Yeah, you've had some good things come your way.
Yeah.
So that's really good.
Started off with a lovely Monday in bed. Tuesday at Pain School, not Pain Clinic anymore. It's Pain School.
Pain School, okay.
Yes.
And that's going well?
Yeah, lots of different techniques and things that normally weren't used and weren't known about previously. Yep. So that was fun. Then right into Wednesday, proposal writing school.
Oh my gosh.
A grant writing, proposal writing class on.
Yep.
And then today was a lazy day, just waiting for you.
That's nice.
Yep.
That's nice.
And you?
So this week has actually felt very hectic for me. I can't even remember. Monday I would have been in the office. Tuesday I was in the office. But it was like late days. I can't remember what we did. Oh, Monday was Richard and I celebrated 15 years together. Like not our wedding anniversary, but like our dating anniversary.
Side note, that picture of you guys when you were babies.
I know.
So cute. Oh my god.
I know.
They were like teenagers and they looked like babies. Their little faces.
We literally were.
I know, but your little faces look so young. They look like they're 8 and 9 or something.
I know. I did, like, it's weird because so I was 17. So in 2 years.
You were 17 in that picture?
Yeah. So in 2 years, I'll have known well, actually, technically.
Holy crap.
So Richard and I have talked on and off online. Like, we met online. And we talked on and off since I was in junior high. I would have been like grade 7 or 8 probably. And so I've known Richard longer than I haven't in my lifetime.
Holy crap.
Which is like wild to think about. Yeah. So we decided to go see Minecraft, the movie Minecraft. It was hilarious. Do you know Jason Momoa?
Yes.
He is so funny.
Mm-hmm.
He plays like a really funny character in this movie,
he is
and
funny.
He's hilarious.
He's funny. Not to mention gorgeous.
Oh yeah, but oh my gosh, it was such a good movie, such a good movie.
You should have had a conversation with Jasper. Jasper loves Minecraft.
Oh really?
Yeah.
So there's that, and then Tuesday I just worked at the office, and Wednesday and Thursday, so today I just completed training. So I facilitated training for the last 2 days. That's why I'm probably feeling tired. Yeah. Now I will say I received one of the best compliments I think I've ever received, which was, so my supervisor decided to come and just check it out. She only stayed for the morning on the first day. And I called her afterwards. We always just like kind of chat.
Check in.
Yeah, check in. She's very good that way. And she said, you know what, Megan? She said, I was saying to another coworker, she was like, sometimes, she's like, I don't know what your plans are, like whether it's child protection or what your role is in, what your dreams and aspirations are within that or outside of that. She said, but sometimes you just like know when someone's meant to do something. And she's like, and I just like seeing you up there, like it was just like, I know that's what you were meant to do. Like she was just like, because even like I was thinking about like when I'm setting it up, I'm thinking about like making sure people have accommodations if they need them, making sure people are comfortable, having lots of fidgets, having coloring toys. I've got everything set up. Like I always speak about, you don't need to speak if you don't want to, but I always love discussion, that we're all the experts. So like, yeah. So she was like, it was like kind of what you're meant to do. So I thought that was really just like, that was so much better than you did a great job. It was like, wow, that's really like actually deep.
That's really good feedback. Like,
Yeah.
and that's what people like you would like to hear. Even constructive criticism is
For
good.
sure.
You know, like, but a lot of people
sure.
aren't comfortable giving that kind of feedback. So
Yeah.
that's really good, and that does not surprise me. I got to say.
Yeah,
Because I've been your biggest cheerleader for a long time.
Yeah, so that was really nice. And one of the best things I really enjoy about her is that she thoroughly understands my anxiety. So whenever there is constructive criticism or suggestions, she generally approaches it in a very appropriate way, just because she is very like good at that. Like she understands that. So that was really nice actually to get that compliment, I think.
That's awesome.
Yeah. So although training it's long and it's tiring, but I've got a side story,
All right.
which I think you're gonna find funny. It just reminded me of when I said accommodating. Richard and I were at Wendy's last Saturday, I think it was. And when we sat inside, we sat down on it was like half booth, half chairs. And it was like the row. Have you been into the new Wendy's where it's all, okay. So there's like a huge bench and then the tables and then chairs. So it's like half bench, half seats on the wall. But there's like 5 or maybe 5 tables in a row, but only one has like the little accessible icon.
One is empty for a wheelchair, you mean?
Well, there's chairs on it. You'd have to move the chairs, but
okay.
It's like weird because it's like, why isn't the table next to me accessible or that table accessible? It's just this one particular table.
That's dumb.
Well, what I started thinking was, then I started, because of you, right? Like I'm constantly, so I'm like, okay, so now I'm like, this is why, right? Why wouldn't all these be accessible? Like, but then I started to look at, well, on that table over there, it's the table, chairs, and then just behind it is like another like table and chairs. And then on this side is like a ledge.
So it would be hard for people to maneuver in and out with a wheelchair.
So this particular table, it's like a whole aisle, right? So there's nothing behind those chairs.
No barriers.
But when I was explaining it to Richard, I was like, wow, so like she wouldn't be able to move back this way. And he's like, Tammy's not here. I'm like, what do you mean? He goes, you keep saying she.
That's funny.
Like, no, if a wheelchair, I was like, no. Well, she might not be able to wheel all the way back and wheel around with the table there, or she might not be able to ledge.
It's funny, but it's not funny, and it's because you've been with me and you've seen the struggle, so you know. It's funny when people get close to you when you're in a wheelchair, and it doesn't matter who you're around, but once people get to know you, once you're in the chair, they really start to notice how inaccessible sometimes life is, right?
And I just kept saying she, and Richard was like, Tammy's like not here.
Like I was out in the truck or something.
And I'm like, what do you mean? You keep saying she. And I'm like, oh. I was going to text you that, and then I totally forgot. But when I said accommodating, I was like, oh, that reminded me of that. So anyway, my week's been tiring but busy, so that's good. Yeah.
And today I was looking for places for us to stay for our little getaway.
Oh, yes.
But If anyone out there in La La Land who listens to us knows about any place on the Eastern Shore, like Lawrencetown area or even Halifax area, that's accessible and affordable, like not $300 a night, because that seems to be what everything is.
I know.
It's crazy.
Yeah.
So if anybody out there for the weekend of the 15th, 16th, and 17th of August.
Yes. To fix myself there.
But send along your suggestions if you have any.
Yeah, that would be really nice, actually. Yeah. Okay. Well, today we actually had a topic today. We were gonna do Q&A.
Like, look at us with a topic on our podcast.
A topic at home.
Like, who would have ever thought we would have came up with a topic?
I know. Oh, that reminds me. I got the just a side
Flowers.
note. The flowers. Jesus, the flowers in my car, but they'd be okay with.
What? As long as they're not lilies.
Okay, so I'll like bring them in and you can.
I'll be like
assess. But yeah, they're really pretty. Yeah.
I could always put them outside.
Yeah, that's true. All right, don't let me forget. I won't
Okay.
bring those. Yeah, I was doing deliveries today,
Yeah,
and
customer gave us flowers.
Yeah, she came around and she's like, Megan, and yeah, so we got some nice flowers, which is really sweet. Yeah.
Very cool.
Okay, so yeah, I was thinking about a lot today around like mental health and really like loving people despite them being mentally unwell or struggling with their mental health. And so, like I said to Tammy, I was like, do you have any ideas of what we're talking about today? And I was like, well, I do. So we decided to do it.
I
Yeah.
keep looking at that picture Cheyenne painted up.
I know. You did like a little paint class and you shot her caretaker.
We did a reverse art portrait, reverse
Richard really
self-portrait.
wants to do that. Like, really wants to do that, yeah.
It was fun.
Yeah.
She just did a little bob brossing of the cheeks.
I know.
And the
it's so
boobs.
cute.
She had the boobs like up.
It's cute, though.
It is cute.
It
It's
is cute. It is cute.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I don't know, like I just wanted to kind of, because mental health is difficult.
Yeah.
And it's hard to like, with physical health, like it's a little bit easier because you can physically see things. But like with mental health, it can be really hard to, I find, kind of understand behaviors or kind of rationalize things and try to understand people better and love them through it. Like kind of like, how did you put it earlier? Seeing the person behind?
No, seeing the person, not the illness.
Seeing the person, not the illness, yeah.
Yeah. Or seeing the person behind the illness.
Yeah.
Because typically, well, I mean, I have mental health issues myself. So
Yeah,
I'll just
for
put
sure.
that. We've been honest about that right from the get-go.
Oh my gosh, yes.
And I also said to Megan, I doubt that there's a person on earth right now that doesn't have mental health issues.
Yeah.
But, I don't know. When people are going through mental health crisis or living with a diagnosis, going through med changes, all kinds of things, sometimes we can hurt the people that we love. Mm-hmm. And then it makes it very hard for those people to love us back.
Mm-hmm. Mm. Yeah.
And the example you and I were talking about, which we won't disclose, but was very much, you very much took a mature approach to that because that would be a difficult situation.
Yeah. Yeah.
But you thought, and a lot of times this is the thing, when someone has a mental health issue, diagnosis, whatever you want to say,
Yeah.
and you're having difficulties understanding them or whatever, sometimes you have to think about how the person was before the mental health, I guess. Think about, like, what would the old Tammy do or what would the old Megan do? I don't know. I feel like a lot of times we don't give people time to, oh my God, I don't know what I'm trying to say. When you're having mental health issues, and you have interactions, you may be quick to say something that you'll regret and will hurt people, and then again it makes it hard for people to love you back.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah, I feel like, so the situation, without getting into too many details, essentially is that, someone that, is in my life, made a decision and did something that is very hurtful to myself and my family. And so, with that, it's hurtful. And definitely there's like anger behind it.
But you also,
Yeah.
Megan told me the story, and then before I even said anything, Megan said, but there are mental health issues, and then started to see the other side, like play the other devil's advocate or the other side of the coin or whatever.
Yeah.
Which I find you do a lot anyways, but I think that that's your training and that's your...
Right.
A lot of that comes from that.
Right.
And also having mental health issues yourself.
Yeah. And I think, like, too, I guess it also, for me, depends on, like, the proximity of the relationship. So in this particular case, while they are, we do have a relationship, it's, like, not extremely close and it's distant. We don't see each other all the time.
And it's strained, right?
It's strained, right? So, like, it's different, like, versus, like, if you're, like, living with someone who's really struggling with mental health and you're dealing with it every day and you're really having to constantly differentiate.
Because it's not easy to deal with that and put that aside every day.
Yeah.
That's a harder thing, but when it's a one-off and you can look at it like you did, then good. But, I mean, when it's an everyday occurrence or you're living with a person with severe mental illness diagnosis or untreated, it becomes very, very difficult to love that person.
For sure. Yeah. Like, it can be really super draining. And the other side of it is like, so I am someone, like Tammy said, to be like, okay, this is the behavior, this is what's happening, this is what they're doing. Okay, this is worrisome, or this is bothersome, or this makes me mad or angry or hurt me or whatever. But they are not well right now. And so this behavior probably stems from A, B, and C. And that comes from my own, like, I've done so much, like, work through education or my own therapy, and just, I have, like, severe anxiety. So, like, when you have severe anxiety, you just critically analyze everything anyway.
Your mind just constantly runs a replay through your head, and you're wondering what you did wrong.
For sure, yeah. So you're constantly...
I have that, like, that's the anxiety is... Well,
yeah, oh yeah, you have the same...
Yeah. Well, yeah, I constantly it's Overthinkers Anonymous. Hello. Hi, my name is Tammy, and I will chronically overthink.
Yeah, exactly.
Right?
Exactly. So, but then it's like, it's a fine line between, like, kind of understanding where a behavior might be coming from, to, like, also acknowledging that it's not always okay. Like,
no, it's kind of meeting people where they're at, but also holding them accountable for their actions.
For sure.
Because just because you have a mental illness or diagnosis or whatever it is, that doesn't give you the right to be a horrible, awful person.
Right.
That's not to say that people don't have, like, a one-off episode or whatever, but there's so many times I can think in my childhood where I was not knowing what was going to come next, like, so I'm with an unpredictable parent and just not knowing whether it was going to be a day of rage or if it was going to be happiness and sunshine and, or just, it wasn't fun.
Right.
And it made it, I don't know, I'm estranged from my family now because of for a lot of reasons, but one of them is mental illness.
Right.
So that sucks.
Yeah.
But it's also to protect my own sanity.
Right, exactly. And that's the other thing. It's like setting those boundaries.
Some people you can't set boundaries with. That's the problem.
Yeah.
So that's when you have to eliminate
Just
them, because some
cut
people
off.
don't take boundaries.
Right.
Like when you try to set boundaries, because that's what happened. I tried
Yeah.
to set boundaries and that was not okay.
No.
So.
So then it just becomes about like,
Mm-hmm.
yeah, it's such a tricky, like, this is why I find it so fascinating, because it's like trying to see the person behind the mental illness, trying to rationalize what the behaviors or what's been happening or what they're doing, but also like protecting yourself, holding them accountable. Like, there's so many factors at play, and it can make it really confusing. And this is exactly why, like, this exactly shows like our anxiety, or like my anxiety, Tammy's anxiety, because that's what everything gets so complicated, right? It's not just simple like, I'm mad at you, so I'm leaving. Like, there's so much more
No.
to it.
Mm-mm.
So much more to it.
Mm-mm.
Yeah.
Nope.
It is interesting, when you were just talking about, like, you didn't know what you were waking up to. So I recently just did a training on trauma. And the attachment styles it's so interesting to go into.
I was there. I don't know why, but that was on my feed.
Really?
Yeah, it was talking about attachment styles and trauma, early childhood traumas, and how it affects your. Yeah. So carry on. I'm
That's
interested.
interesting. Yeah.
I never got a chance to read it, so.
Yeah, so what I find fascinating about it is how you attach to your caregivers at a very, very early age significantly impacts how you are later in life and how you develop relationships. And so, you know, when you have secure attachment, when the parent is like actively, you know, meeting your needs, whether that's like emotionally, physically, like with food, shelter, clothing, when it's smiling at you, playing with you, that sort of thing. You tend to grow up having those, you know, feeling self-esteem, feeling self-worth, knowing, going into relationships knowing you are worth something and that you deserve something out of the relationship. Like, so typically that's what happens. But then there's like...
I can tell you what happens when that doesn't happen.
But it's interesting because there's avoidant attachment and ambivalent attachment. I think it's called ambivalent.
Which one am I?
Ambivalent. And then there's disorganized. And I would say, from what you're describing, so what's interesting is ambivalent. It's ambivalent attachment tends to be like more of an anxious person. You tend to develop more of an anxious personality because your parent meets your needs sometimes, but not all the time. So you're kind of curious as to what you're going to get. Now, there's also called disorganized attachment. And I would say that's just more extreme. You really don't know what you get. Yeah. It's like extreme rage or anger.
And there were like hoarding characteristics. There was, avoidant characteristics like migraines and sleeping all the time and, like.
Right. And so like with you, like, I mean, it would make more sense. So when there's an attachment, when the attachment is disorganized and the child really genuinely has no idea what they're going to get at all, and there's extreme behaviors being shown by the caregivers, then later in life, that tends to reflect on the person. So what happens is that person then starts to develop also like extreme behaviors. So like high anxiety or high depression, and they might alternate between the two or experience them both, like that's pretty interchangeably. Yeah,
pretty much me.
Yeah, so I don't know all about attachment styles. I'm like an expert or anything, but I did do some training on it, and what I've learned for myself, it's really interesting because to me, it shows how things happen generationally. right? Like that is exactly how the generational cycles happen. Because we only know what we're taught, and what we're taught is from an early age. So it's hard to like switch that up if we don't know any better. It's hard to rewire our brains, because that's what that sets the precedent in our brain, right? Like that's when we do our learning. That's when our brain sets us up for like our thoughts and our feelings and how we know we can handle things. You know, if we are raised in a home where we're severely neglected, for example, you're not going to grow up thinking that you are deserving of anything, right? Because your needs were never met. So what's the point? You know? Kind of going on a little side rant there, but I do find what you had said about not knowing kind of just reminded me of the attachment styles.
I just was kind of like zoned out there.
Yeah.
For a moment.
Yeah.
Just thinking about childhood and the things that happened, and just some of the things that, looking back now, like, I guess I can go back and I can look at it and I can explain the behaviors. Yeah. But growing up, I didn't have the ability.
Well, you wouldn't.
No, I didn't. I didn't have the ability to look at the person behind the illness.
For sure.
And yeah, and it just I don't know why. I don't know. It just, in adulthood, it's hard to look at the person now and say, well, they had all these things going on and they can function now. Why couldn't they function then? You know?
Yeah. Oh, listen. I know. Like for me,
like why I just can't. Like, what was so bad that you couldn't function? Like,
and now you can.
And now you're the, like, yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
But yet have never acknowledged any mental health issues, have never ever gotten any help. So what's,
right.
You know?
Well, and that's the other tough piece, right? When you really love someone and you know that they're really struggling and they need like help.
Well, that's how the relationship dissolved, was me trying to get her help.
Yeah. Yeah. It's so hard to walk that line between I have to protect myself, I really care about a person, or I really want a person to get help, but then you don't want to put yourself at risk. Like, it's such a difficult thing to navigate.
Well, it's really difficult too if you have mental health issues yourself and you've worked really hard. Because I spent years, and I spent intensive years working on myself.
Yeah.
And I faced my demons, and I've said my apologies, and I've done the things that I had to do, because I know that there were times when I was a shitty person.
Yeah.
But, I think you have to, just like a criminal, you have to make restitution.
Yeah.
Like, I think you may owe people an apology. Then there may be people that you have to cut out of your life once you get healed. You realize, okay, this person is too severely mentally ill to be in my life. I can't handle those, ups and downs now that I know that, it's not a healthy environment for me to be in.
Yeah.
Or it's not a safe environment for me to be in.
Yeah.
So you learn those things. But I'll just say, as a child, living with people with mental illness was complete hell.
Yeah. Yeah. I know, like, for me, like, reflecting on it, one of the biggest things that stands out to me is I have a family member who, growing up, had a condition where if they experienced, like, high emotion, they would have this, like, attack where basically, it's called cataplexy, and it's essentially where they would, like, appear unconscious, but they'd be like mentally conscious, but like they would be, their whole body would just fall to the ground, like you'd physically look like you were out. And so, I mean, and this is just like one small piece, but like, so when you grow up in an environment where we don't want to upset somebody because it's going to create an attack, and then all this fear, and then there's hospitals, and then there's like that fear of like upsetting somebody, and then it's like you think about, well, geez, no wonder I'm a people pleaser. No wonder you don't want to upset anybody when you're chronically raised that way, that you have to walk kind of on eggshells.
And that you're taught that the teacher is the person of authority, even if that teacher made you sit on his lap and did terrible things to you.
Right.
That teacher is still the person of authority, so you must, you know?
Yeah.
Like, that's what, dealing with shit like that, and...
Yeah.
I don't know.
It's a lot.
Yeah.
It is a lot.
It is a lot.
Yeah. It's hard to process because it's just, it's like setting boundaries, caring for people, wanting to care for yourself.
Do you think it's selfish to care for yourself and lose people?
I feel that at one time in my life, actually, I don't even think one time in my life. No, I don't think it's selfish. I think that I would say, this is how I would answer it. At one time in my life, I would say, no, it's not selfish for other people. Yes, it is selfish for me. That's what I would say. I found that recently, like within the last couple of months, maybe last year or so, probably the last couple of months, last year, like within the last year, that I have really started the process of like distancing myself from things that really make me unhealthy mentally because of their own mental health struggles. And so now I would answer just, no, it's not selfish for you, and no, it's not selfish for me. Yeah. Because I think at the end of the day, you know, you kind of think about I kind of think about the oxygen example, in that when you're on an airplane, I know I've said this like a million times, you're on an airplane, the oxygen masks come down, and they say always put the oxygen mask on yourself first and then put it on other people. And the thing about that is, like, typically, like, I'm the person, and even Tammy's the person that would probably instinctively go to put it on other people.
Try to put it on everyone.
But the reality is that as soon as I run out of air, I'm no good to anybody. And so I don't want to drown in trying to save everybody that is drowning. And that's essentially what would happen if you don't set boundaries. Like, you would just run out of oxygen, or you would just drown yourself. And then you're literally good to nobody. Then you're just both dying. You're both running out of air. You're both drowning. So what good is it? So setting boundaries, or like you said, completely cutting people out of your life that are just truly unhealthy, can't acknowledge that they have mental health concerns, can't acknowledge that they need help, are completely fine with the way they're living, then you do you, boo. But I'm going to do me, and I need to protect my healing journey and my peace. So I need to walk away. And what a friggin' difficult decision that would be.
Especially if there's other people involved who inadvertently
Are affected. Yep.
So,
to me, that shows strength. That's what it shows to me.
I feel weak, though. I feel weak for a lot of reasons, but I don't know. That makes me feel weak.
Yeah.
I don't feel strong.
And so for me, when I say strong, I think it would be easier for you to continue the relationship and continue having poor mental health and continue, it would be easier for you to fall into old habits because that's what your brain is used to, right? Like the new life that you have, your brain is constantly fighting with you because you're doing something that your brain's not used to, right?
Yeah, it's like here's something that I still hear in my brain, even though there's no stairs here. I hear someone coming down the stairs. You know how in the other apartment, when people would come down the stairs, it would remind me of when I was a child and someone would be coming down the stairs?
Yeah.
I still hear that sometimes, and there's no stairs here.
Yeah.
So, it's really hard to get away from that trauma piece, for, I don't know, when it's something that was ingrained in you.
Well, and that's the thing, like, one thing that I've found really helpful is this visualization around our brain where it's like, when we're first born, these like, I can't remember what they're called, like your like initial thoughts, your core thoughts.
Core thoughts and beliefs.
So imagine your brain is like a field. And so basically like you were taught as a very young child.
Your parents are going to plant that field.
Yeah, so the field is happening, and so we'll just say baseline neglect, right? So that's saying to you, you're not worthy of your needs being met, you're not loved, you're not valued. So all of those thoughts, what's happening is they're the farmers and they're like plowing down the field, and these thoughts continue to go over and over and over this field, right? So what happens? The field gets flat, like that section gets flat, right? So now what's going to happen is when you are thinking in your brain, your first thought is going to be that, because it's easy, right? It's easy to walk across a field where it's all laying down, like when there's nothing, where you don't have to climb through high grass or look over or go searching. You can just walk straight across the field. You don't get your shoes dirty. It's just you're going straight across, right? So your brain automatically is going to go to that because that's the easiest. That's the plowed part of the field. You're just going, and there's no obstacles. There's no blockages. It's harder for your brain to have to try to create a new plowed section. There's a whole lot of new work that goes into that, right? So your brain's not going to want to do that automatically.
You got to go to the back 40 and plow your own acreage.
Exactly.
You got to
really like
leave those rotten vegetables that were planted and move to the back 40 where you're clearing your own land.
Right. And I think that
you're driving the tractor this time, so.
Well, this is it, right? And I think that's a really good visual of like, okay, that makes sense. Like,
I know I'm planting positivity, and I'm planting self-confidence, and I'm planting,
Exactly, but
everything
just imagine,
that I wished I had.
Right? How long that takes.
I'm telling you, you need the back 40.
Yeah. And if anyone's interested in that in particular, it's brain plasticity. Yeah.
Go ahead.
No, I was just going to say you can look up that concept because it is all about how that's essentially rewiring your brain is what's happening. You can rewire. There is hope, like if you are really struggling.
And that's what we were talking about in the pain clinic or the pain school.
Oh, okay.
Was when a baby is born, nerve receptors is what we were talking about, or the little neurons.
Yeah.
So when a baby is born, they have way less receptors than we do as an adult, because that's why they're so floppy and flimsy, whatever. So he showed us the picture of the receptors, and of course they look like little branches, right?
Yeah.
So when you're a baby, you might have 2 or 3 branches and they're not connected together, but then as you grow, your body creates all of these connections, and these neurons, they want to connect to each other, so then that's what creates the nervous system.
Yeah.
And anyway, it's just funny, and that's how you start to feel pain and learn. And they were talking about if you have a parent that, like say you fall down and a child will turn around and if the child falls down, they'll turn around and look at the parent to see what the parent's going to do. You know how they have that stop before they cry?
Yeah.
And a lot of times, if the parent is just calm and approaches it, and I mean, unless it's a major, you know.
Yeah, for sure. This is all general, yeah.
Yeah, we're not talking about the kid
Like
who
we're not-
split their head open or anything.
Oh, Jesus, no.
I'm talking about if a kid just, you know,
Yeah.
falls out of the wagon or something and
Yeah.
looks around to see if he should cry or not. Well, they say if you coddle your child, they will cry. But if you don't coddle them, like, and I'm not talking if they're really hurt, you deal with it, of course, as a responsible parent. I'm talking the little fall out of the wagon type thing. That the child will, that's how they get self-confidence, and that's how they learn to that, oh, look, I can do this, just,
I can fall and get back up again.
yeah, I can fall and get back up again, or I can try something new, and it's not going to be the end of the world, or...
Yeah.
Whereas if you have someone screaming at you, that's the other thing. There's the person who's calm and handles it neatly. There's the person who screams and yells at you and blames you for being stupid for falling.
Yeah.
And then there's the person who overcompensates for it and makes it a gigantic deal about, you know, taking you to the hospital when you've literally just, you know,
fallen off the wagon.
stumbled off of, and when I say fallen off the wagon, I mean a kid's wagon, not the big wagon.
Yeah, not the big wagon.
Yeah. So.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah, it is interesting.
Yeah.
So that also creates who we are as we grow and how we relate to pain and how we, you know, and if our needs were met when we were children, we learn to have less pain response because our needs were met if we legitimately had a concern.
Right.
You know?
Right.
So.
That is so interesting.
Yeah, and if, like, when you were, they said when you were sick with, like, stayed home from school because you were sick with the flu or something, and your mom made you chicken soup, or even if it was the babysitter or whoever, made you chicken soup and, you know, gave you a special blankie and, you know, did those things, then you would learn to be nurturing. That's teaching people to be nurturing. So those are all the things that we learn when we are really, really young, before the age of 5.
Yeah.
And that's how we gather our own.
Yeah.
You know, I don't know what you call them, vices or the way we behave.
Yeah, it is. I do find it very fascinating.
It is. Like, it's extremely fascinating.
How our childhood really manifests into our adulthood.
Mm-hmm. But what's even more interesting is that there is hope and that you can change those brain patterns.
For sure. You
Thought
can plow your own
processes,
field.
and you can plow your own field. You're damn right.
Yeah, exactly.
And I know that because I'm driving the tractor on the back 40.
Yeah.
And I have been for the last 8 years.
Yeah, and that's the thing. Like, I think that's important to acknowledge is that it has taken and it's not even perfect yet because it never will be, right? It'll never be perfect.
No, I have to my brain has to constantly correct my thoughts because my immediate first thoughts, and I even have to stop myself sometimes from saying things because I don't always say things in a nice way.
Yeah.
And I have to stop my brain from, you know.
Yeah, which is a lot of work.
Which is because I was taught to react to everything. Not to process, but to react.
Yeah.
So not even think about it. It was you must, you know, like split second, boom.
Decision.
Yeah.
Survival depended on it.
Instead of, you know, well, let's think about this and let's problem solve and let's, you know, no, there's none of that.
Yeah. Huh, that's curious. Yeah, I think just kind of going back to, I love that we kind of went down the trauma road. We'll have to do that more. I think it's get more dive into the trauma stuff.
I'm surprised because I thought I had worked through it, but it still makes me teary when I talk about it. So I know I still have some work to do.
Yeah.
It's hard when you don't have your family.
Yeah. Yeah.
But lucky for me, I have also learned to create a wonderful community around me.
Yes, you do.
Of friends and my workers that work for me and, you know, everybody that I am surrounded with in my immediate area and my friends that I have. Wonderful, wonderful people who add so much to my life, and I am so fortunate and so grateful.
Yeah.
because there have been a lot of people who've helped me along the way.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, I love it. Really do have such a good, like, I guess what they'd call found family. Is that what they'd call it? Found family?
I do. Really lucky because, like, even on holidays and stuff like that, you know, like Turkey Day, whenever when everybody else is doing stuff, I'm lucky because I have friends that also are not with their families and things.
That's true.
So it makes it a little bit more like, you know, you can come together with someone and break bread, as they say.
Yeah.
So that's kind of nice.
Going back to, like, loving somebody with their mental health.
Kind of get off to...
I love it, though.
Off on the trauma trail. That's me. I'm riding the horse on the trauma trail.
My God. Well, I can't remember what you said that reminded me of kind of similar to what you were saying around, like, well, you fully left, like, you fully, like, broke off that relationship. But one thing my counselor, Richard and I went to see a counselor, and one thing that she had said when we were struggling with some relationships, like, outside of our own, it's funny because, like, when we went and we started talking, we realized that
you didn't have any problems. It was the people around you.
It was the external stuff. Yeah, which is hilarious. It's like and she said, you guys have so much love and compassion and
I think that too
for each other.
I think that you guys are, you know, like, nobody's perfect, but
no,
you guys have a pretty good life.
Yeah, we're very. I gotta say, we are very solid. Like, and we've never been so solid.
God, I couldn't even think of somebody who's been married 80 years that would come to compare to you guys. Like,
yeah, I have to say,
I put you on that pedestal if I was to find a partner, because you get a good one.
I do. But one thing she had said was, which I found interesting, is she had, like, a sister who struggled with some, I want to say maybe addiction issue, or like when she was drinking, she'd get pretty, like, aggressive, like, verbally. And so what the therapist kind of said to us was, like, you know, you can love that person and spend time with that person, but make your boundaries clear that when a certain behavior starts to happen, that you leave. And so what she does is, if she's out, you know, whatever, having a couple of drinks, or maybe they're at home watching a movie and they're having a good time, and then the person starts to become kind of belligerent or rude or mean or whatever that behavior is that triggers her, she just walks up and leaves. And it's at the point now where that's totally normal, because she's not going to put up with that behavior. It's not happening, so she just up and leaves. So I don't know if that fits into a circumstance that anyone who's listening to this.
This is a weird thing that happened the other day, and you know how sometimes when you're doing a course or something online and somebody is monopolizing?
Yes.
Or even in person, and somebody is talking and they monopolize everything.
Yes.
Well, I listened to it for a long time the other day, and I tried very hard to have patience and think, okay, maybe this person has ADHD, you know, has problems with blurting things out, or maybe every excuse in the book. And then I was like, I can't take this anymore. And I literally shut off the computer and came out of the Zoom class.
Really?
Yeah. And the old Tammy would have been terrified to do that, because she would have been terrified about the ramifications of that.
Yeah. But you couldn't do it.
I knew that my own sanity, I was going down that road. I was like, checking off all the boxes of what's wrong with her. Well, it's not my responsibility to figure out what's wrong with her.
Well, yeah, and you don't have a close relationship with her either. It's not like...
No. But it was just, like, the old me would never have done that because of fear of, you know, you had to always do what the authorities told you to do, or you were going to be in big trouble.
You just, like, you gotta protect yourself.
Yeah.
And that's the thing. I do think protecting yourself shows so much strength. It does. It does, because it's hard.
I would agree with that I guess, yeah, you're right. It does. Yeah.
Yeah.
It does.
And I don't think protecting yourself necessarily always has to mean like what you did, which is cutting off. If for your instance, like just knowing the situation, yes, that needed to be done. Like there's not a about it that needs to be done. You can still I have a positive relationship with the people that I have struggled with, like close bio family. But there's also distance, different types of trauma, different types of things that happened. So, I mean, obviously we can't compare. It's like apples and oranges. So, like, but for me, it was more so setting boundaries, not like living in the home.
And see, I was trying to set boundaries because all I was asking for was for them to get some help, right?
Yeah.
And that was it. It was like, you're crazy. Why are you mentioning this? Why do you always do this? Da 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 da. Don't start this again. Blah blah blah. You know, like, and that was it.
Yeah.
That was the end of the relationship.
Yeah, and that's just it, right? Like,
because I couldn't look at it anymore and say, okay, there's nothing wrong with her.
Yeah.
Because there is.
Yeah, and that's the thing, right? So it's very case by case basis for your situation. I don't think there would have been another solution. It had to have been that, like, I think.
Unfortunately.
And it's not like you didn't try everything else. For my situation, what is happening works for me. The distance.
Yeah, and I get that
works
because
for me.
I think I could have done that too. And I did. The
For
distance
for a long time.
When I was in Belize, the distance worked.
Yeah.
Or didn't really work, but was enough.
I know what you mean. Yeah.
There was enough of the distance that I didn't have to think about it every day.
Yeah, so it's difficult. Feel free to comment below, like share your insights or share some tips that you have found worked. I mean, I even think about myself and like Richard dealing with like my mental health and then me dealing with his mental health, you know, like it's, you still have to like, it's so difficult to be able to like navigate the person beyond, like when super anxious, I can be really irritable, for example, right?
Well, that's like what I was saying, and I can come across as very aggressive.
Yeah.
And if I feel like I'm cornered and don't have, you know, like, or if I'm offered if someone's talking at me and offering me a lot of options at once, I will maybe aggressively say something because I don't know how to handle that.
Yeah. And for me, like, I really struggle, like, for example, with, like, setting boundaries. Like, that's something I really struggle with. So, like, similar to you, like, with what you just said, I can sometimes when I'm trying to, like, set a boundary in a very innocent way, I can also come across very, like, aggressive or rude or dismissive when I'm not trying to be that way. But it's like, I don't know how to say no, so then when I do, it just sounds like, funny.
Yeah, it's like, F off and leave me alone.
Yeah, exactly. So, I don't know, it's so interesting and difficult and complicated, but I just feel like, number one, you have to try to protect your own peace.
It's your own little eggshell, because you're the only one that's going to protect it.
Yeah, and that's the thing. You got to put on your oxygen mask. You got to, save yourself from drowning before you can help anyone else.
Also, any of you out there who are raising little ones, think about how much impact, like, being a parent is such an important job. So I don't think enough people think about how important that is when you are raising a child.
I know, it's like overwhelming. It's scary.
I mean, not just the physical act of raising the child and doing all the stuff for them, but, realizing that, looking at this now, how much the way you raise that child is going to affect them in adulthood.
I know.
And I mean, I didn't have, when I was raising my son, I was not healed, and I didn't have the conscious ability to know the things that I know now. And I feel so like I just had a baby because it was the thing to do, you know? Not that I certainly wanted and loved my son. It wasn't that. It just felt like, now it feels like I wish I had known now what I...
Yeah,
but I guess
course.
A lot of people have that.
Of course. Well, and again, that
And you can only
to the
do better.
generation.
Yeah, you can only do better when you know better.
Yeah, exactly. And again, that, like you said, it speaks to generational, traumas or mental health illnesses.
Yeah. And how as an adult, if you're not healed and then you have children, like, it's just a cycle of...
It's such
like,
a cycle.
Yeah.
And
that's why it's so important to stop it.
Yeah, to break that cycle and take care. And again, why it's so important to put that oxygen mask on. Help yourself heal. Help yourself from drowning. Go look for a lifeguard in the boat. Don't jump in, it's funny, actually, that reminded me, an old counselor back when I was in like junior high or something had said to me, he was like, when you have a friend in crisis, just imagine that their crisis is like a roller coaster, he said. And the roller coaster is going, and then all of a sudden it breaks down the machine, and the machine won't stop. It's just going until the tracks come off and they're about to like go off the tracks. They're about to like go to their death type of thing. He's like, are you in the car seat with them, on going through it with them, the emotions with them, trying to help them, or are you like on the sidelines trying to like help them like push the lever to stop what's happening, right? And oftentimes I'm like,
I'm in the car,
right? And that
100%
that does
I'm in
nobody
the car.
any good.
100% I'm in the car.
You're just going off with them.
Yep. Dead.
Yeah, exactly. You're just going off with them. You're no help to anybody.
Dead.
Yeah. So, anyway, it's food. That's what was that? Food for thought.
Food for thought.
Thought for food. Food for thought.
Thought for food.
Thought for food.
The thought of food sounds good, but can't eat. So.
Have you ever thought of the what's the saying on Office? They said instead of saying, the tables have turned, they're like, oh wow, the turns have tabled. Anyway, any other thoughts before we close out?
No, but this was a heavy subject before bedtime.
I know. I'll have to put, every time I feel like I keep putting trigger warnings, I'll have to put like a trigger warning on this one too.
Actually, I was going to say that this was a little triggering for me.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. It's
But
heavy.
that's okay, because you have to get triggered. And if you're realizing you're getting triggered, then you know you're healing.
Yeah. And I feel like too, it's funny how we always, I like when we have a topic, but then we kind of like go off
Just
a little bit.
blah, 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 blah.
Yeah, because I think it's helpful for people. Like, I feel like people can relate to this.
Because we're normal. We're just normal people. We're fat. We've got mental health issues. We're dealing with issues with our family. We're just like the rest of you.
Yeah.
I think maybe that's why people like us, especially when we sell clothes and things.
Yeah.
Because we're just like you.
We're just trying to survive.
One day at a time.
All right then. Well, practice some self-care, some self-compassion. Thank you for listening, and we would love to hear your comments below. All right. Till next week. Night. Mwah.
Sunshine in the sky, Megan and Tammy here to testify, spreading love, laughter and good vibes too. The Fat Girl Chronicles, we're breaking through. No more hiding, no more feeling small. We're taking up space, standing proud and tall. Our voice is strong, our stories to be heard, challenging the stereotypes, flipping the world. The Chronicles.